All right, this is the Queen City Review, and this week's featured business owner is Scott Butler. Mr. Butler is a business advisor and partner with B2B CFO, and I don't want to steal any thunder, but there isn't much that Mr. Butler can't help you with. More importantly, he's a father and a husband and has more years of experience in business than I probably have on this earth, and he's here to share his story with us today. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Scott Butler. Scott, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, Tyler. Very good. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Always happy to bring folks on, especially folks with the level of expertise that you do. It's certainly quite enlightening. Mostly for myself, but for others as well, hopefully. So,
And it's good for us to get our conversation on record, right? So to speak, 'cause we go through a lot of stuff when we talk. So.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. So we'll get started. Let's start with you. Are you from this local area?
No, I'm not. I arrived here in 2006, and it was kind of a funny story. My wife and I had been driving through Charlotte for a few years. I'm a St. Petersburg native, but grew up in Toronto, and my wife was from Toronto, so we would take a trip down to my hometown, and then eventually became we both lived there because Jackie went to law school down there. That we would always pass through Charlotte, and we just thought it was just a wonderful place. So when we were looking to start a family, that's kind of what we thought of, and that's when we came here. So we've been here since 2006.
Okay. And so why did you choose this line of business? I believe you've done a few different things, right?
Yeah, but primarily I kind of started life as a bookkeeper, accountant in the hospitality industry, restaurants and hotels. They would call that, or euphemistically, the salt mines of accounting.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of tucked away back somewhere. It's kind of the last thought when you plan out a space for your back office, and it's usually under some stairs or something of that nature, or next to a freezer. But yeah, those were good years, but certainly helped me cut my teeth. I moved next into consulting when my wife to be wanted to go to law school. We sort of relocated to St. Petersburg, and there I found I was able to catch on with Anderson Consulting, which then became Accenture, and then that started my almost 25-year career with them. And then I kind of worked through various areas, but corporate development and transactions were kind of my bread and butter. And then naturally, I'd always been helping family and friends doing their own businesses, and that's kind of more where I saw myself fitting in a post big consulting kind of world. And I really did, with a young son now, wanted to get back in my community. I mean, I knew the airport much better than I did my own area. So to me, it was very important to kind of get back to that. So when an opportunity to join the partnership with B2B CFO came along, it was something I'd done a lot of research on, and I kind of felt like that would really tick a lot of boxes and certainly give me a sort of golden years, much more. Take a lot more pleasure in my work life. So give me a little more balance, at least. What we always strive for in consulting, but you can never get.
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. Kind of leads into my next question is, what made you decide to start your own business? I think you kind of briefly touched on it, but expand on that.
Yeah, it was more of an overwhelming desire to. I've always liked helping people and teaching people. So if it wasn't going into education, and essentially I feel like I still am getting to be able to be an educator, at least in what I do, being an advisor. So to me, it was just kind of a natural fit. But I was leery at the outset of how I would kind of approach the sales aspect or getting clients. And fortunately, the philosophy that this partnership sort of embraces is really much like some of you and I are in B&I together, that embraces the same philosophy of givers gain. And this one, they use the psychology of reciprocity, and that's always been my natural tendency. I like to give more than I get, and it fills me with immense satisfaction. So
Yeah.
that's really what led me to do that on my own.
Yeah,
And get out of that rat race, right? I probably was putting 2,000 to 3,000 hours a year and on the road quite a bit. And now I kind of, I get to pick my own clients, and it's always best when you work with your friends, right? So
Oh
I
yeah,
think
no,
that's
absolutely.
most ideal.
It's always so interesting to me to hear the answers to like this kind of question, just because I feel like I generally get similar responses about, wanting to spend more time with your family, wanting to do more with your community, and starting a business is a tough thing to do. And so next question is, what really inspired you to keep it going as you're, getting it off the ground?
Oh, at the end of the day, it's the people, right? I mean,
Mm,
it's the reason we get up in the morning. If it's not family, it's friends, and if it's not friends, it's associates. And to me, all three of those things really tie closely together, especially when you're hanging out your own shingle, because that, it touches every part of your life. So if you've got clients that are having challenges, it's going to take you to jump back in and help them through that. And it feels like, you're helping family members out at the end of the day. So,
yeah, absolutely. So Scott, looking back, what would you say has been the most difficult challenge that you've had to face, whether it's in business or with the launch of your own business?
always the family ones come to the fore because they kind of test your mettle in many different ways. But in terms of business, as long I've always kind of, I studied philosophy in college, and then with that background, kind of, I take a little bit of a different approach when I approach things. So I kind of like to think through things a little more so than generally, other folks in the consulting world would do it. Although, that's really where you get paid for thinking, right? But fortunately, it kind of worked out for me. But in terms of, facing business challenges, it's, just being able to get a broader perspective on a few on a few different aspects, and then start to work your way back into it. And I think, at least when I advise, trying to get them, get the business owner out of the, the sort of the urgent emergency thinking of things that maybe lead to poor decision making, and help them gain a different perspective and able to reapproach. And then we can certainly then look at more effective ways at planning to address that challenge. I find, at least in my consulting life, it was always kind of getting the clients to a point of understanding. So, between each party, it's, setting the right expectations, and then delivering on those expectations, and then, but keeping the, open communication channel along the way, because stuff is going to change and move sideways. So you've always kind of got to be ready to address those at a moment's notice.
Sure. Yeah. It seems like you're kind of like the guiding angel on the shoulder of my business or businesses,
Try to be. I know, for like, as I alluded to with my family and helping them through their business challenges, it's definitely feels much like that. Trying to dissuade them from making a decision that may have a consequence down the road. And it just, luckily, from my experience, being able to see sometimes where those things can go, and sort of advise from that perspective. And like, at the end of the day, experience kind of always, the more you know, the better you'll do, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, staying on that education theme is really, I think, for everything in life, really.
Sure. Scott, what do you enjoy the most about the communities that your business takes care of?
It's really that, as I maybe said earlier on, the people that I get to work with, they're passionate, especially private business owners. That this is their baby, so to speak. So it's kind of like something that's a part of their family. So ensuring that, giving the proper respect to that, and as well as making sure that you can advise them in a way that moves everyone to a successful outcome. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And let's say that a potential business owner has to pick between three different companies that provide a similar service to you. What would you say that makes you stand out to be the obvious choice?
Mhm. At the end of the day, it's going to come back to relationships, and the more credibility you can build in that aspect of your interactions is going to go the farthest. I mean, like, at the end of the day, we enjoy working with people we like,
Yep.
and it's really, try to foster that as much as possible. And I think, using that philosophy, that psychology, reciprocity, is being able to give yourself out first and to help establish that credibility is really what will distinguish you at the end of the day. So.
Yeah. The relationship is certainly important. I'm sure it's probably one of the most important elements of what you do, and having, the trust to help people.
Yeah, if that's not there, then you're kind of your advice is just kind of hitting out in the airwaves, and it's not really going to land anywhere. And then if they don't make any of the decisions based on that, and just keep going against it, why we don't need to work together then. It's kind of like I would sooner kind of cut ties with something that's I see as not helping them because they're not doing anything that I'm advising. Then then they're just kind of wasting their money, and I don't want anybody to do that either. And I'll take the pains to try to help them out, see some other way if their philosophy kind of lends a different way. I've got a lot of other partners that are happy to step in and help them out. So I'll always find something better for them. So, and that's kind of at the end of the day I want to do. I just want to make sure it's better for them.
Absolutely. Where do you see your business going forward in 2021 and beyond?
Certainly we had a challenging year. I always see opportunity out of chaos or wherever we've got something that is stressing ourselves. So for me, I was fortunate enough to pick up clients during this odd year. It may have been that I've got to do some things like sort of taking the business that without sometimes getting paid, right? So it's just kind of like working with them, showing the forbearance, because I know it's going to turn around, and I'm helping to turn them around. So it will be something that I know in the long run that will be beneficial. But going forward, I just I can't personally because it's myself. I can't take on a lot of clients, so I kind of just keep juggling the pipeline that I've got. So it's in many respects, if I get more business, I may not personally be able to do it myself, but I've certainly got a partnership I can lean on and get somebody that be the right fit for them and be able to carry them to the success I would have been able to do had I have more bandwidth or more of me, right? If you could replicate yourself, that's certainly the approaches we would take. But that's really kind of the one client at a time, one relationship at a time is the way to.
I'd say it seems to be something that I would say is unique about what you do is it's a privilege to work with Scott Butler. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tyler.
Any thinking back, anything that you would have done differently to meet your goals, or
I probably might have chosen this a little earlier. Certainly my son's 12 now, so probably 10 of those years I would have liked to be doing this in those 10 years instead. So, but that would be kind of the only thought I would have on that. Because it was it's fun. This is fun. It's much more fun now. I mean, certainly the people that I worked with in my corporate days that enjoyed them as they were, but then being able to have hindsight to be able to choose a different lens to look at that through is kind of like, oh man, I really did sacrifice a lot of things that I'm glad to be able to enjoy them now. So if it weren't for some of those trials and tribulations, I wouldn't see things the way I see them now. So
any advice to anybody that's just getting started? Maybe in business or in something
just putting yourself out there is just the most amazing thing. I mean, at the end of the day, I've always taken great pride in that. It all hangs on you and your reputation, and being able to if you gain success in that just comes back to you much more forcefully, I think. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. That's about all the questions that I have. What else do you want people to know about Scott Butler, about B2B CFO, or?
It is when we get engaged, kind of a part of that establishing that credibility right off. I do like to get into and analyze the client's business, and I provide what we call a discovery analysis that takes their business, benchmark it against similar businesses, so that they can see where they sort of sit with some of the operational aspects of their business, and then I can sort of chart out a game plan for them. And I do this on a complementary basis, just to to help them see maybe the bigger picture of things. Because a lot of times business owners get bogged down in sort of the minutia of the operations, where they, in many cases, take their sort of eye off the ball, right? And the thing that was making their business great early on is starting to founder a little bit, maybe, and is because of having to turn their attention away from what they did great and when they were early on. So those are the kind of things that can help them sort of take their mind off, help them sleep at night, and then part of our mantra is they have it in our tagline: cash, we help you get it. So it's kind of like taking the aspects of your business to making sure that it is presentable in a way that people want to invest in you, and invest in your business. So if that's generating capital or funding or of any nature for expansion or acquisitions, that we get that into the right audience, and then make sure that that's an easy decision for those lenders and or funding sources that can say, yeah, I want to invest in this business. So
awesome. Well, Scott, I certainly appreciate all the information. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
On my website and my email and my cell phone, which I'm sure we'll block up there, but those three, I'm pretty much just having been in that consulting world. My phone is tied to me, so I do most of my communication through that. So any way you reach out to me, I try to be as responsive as possible.
All right. Well, that's all I got today. Scott, thank you so much for joining me.
Sure.
Really enjoyed this, and look forward to speaking with you more in the future.
Well, much appreciated, Tyler. I enjoyed it as well. Thanks again.
Thank you, Scott.